Tennessee Titans fans, it is August 19th, 2025. The Tennessee Titans gearing up for their final preseason game this Friday night at Nissan Stadium in Nashville, the first home game. And there's an article that came out this morning, courtesy of Jeremy Fowler and Teron Davenport. There's a link to the article in the video description below. The article is mostly about Cam Ward and what the Titans are trying to do to develop him, trying to kind of mimic some of the things that Washington did with Jaden Daniels last year, and even some of the things that Brian Callahan and the Bengals did with Joe Burrow years ago. But there is a portion of the article that talks about Brian Callahan, Mike Borgonzi, Chad Brinker, all of the higher-ups in the Titans organization. And while I'm, of course, not going to read you the whole article, I'm going to read you a couple of quotes that I've got highlighted here, and you might find these interesting. This is regarding the decision the Titans made to keep Brian Callahan at the end of last season. I've got it highlighted here. I'm going to read it to you. Listen to this. There was consideration given to completely cleaning house and sending Callahan on his way along with Carthon. Multiple Titan sources confirmed. Callahan and Carthon had a close relationship, and having the number one pick gave Tennessee an opportunity to bring in a new GM, a new coach, and a rookie quarterback at the same time. But the front office took an honest look at the talent on the roster and factored that into Callahan's record in his first season. The front office didn't lose sight of Callahan being one of the league's in-demand coaching candidates when the Titans hired him. So a little bit of a bombshell there. The first that I've heard about this, the Titans considered firing Brian Callahan at the end of the season. They considered cleaning house and firing Brian Callahan and Ran Carthon together. Now, Brian Callahan and Ran Carthon were buddies. That was one of the big things that was touted after the Titans hired Callahan, was how great he worked with Carthon. They're two peas in a pod. They speak the same football language. So to fire one and keep the other was a little bit of a head scratcher. And the Titans are telling you, Teron and Jeremy Fowler are telling you, the Titans considered it. They considered firing Brian Callahan, wiping the slate clean, and starting over with Ward, Borgonzi, and a new coach. That's a little surprising because that's a bombshell. I haven't heard that until today. I haven't heard that the Titans considered firing Brian Callahan. But look at the reasons they decided not to. First of all, they looked at the roster, looked at what Brian Callahan had to work with in his first year, and said, okay, so it's not completely his fault. Here's the bottom line and what I take away from that part of this. The Titans felt like Will Levis was atrocious last year. The Titans felt like Will Levis, and the other parts of the team too, but the quarterback position in particular, I think the higher-ups, Chad Brinker, Amy Adams-Strunk, they looked at this and they said the quarterback position put everybody behind the eight ball, including Brian Callahan. Yes, he made some mistakes. Yes, he did some things that we don't agree with as far as in-game decisions. Yes, there were some roster moves that he was maybe a part of that didn't make much sense. But he was working with a quarterback who couldn't figure it out. And there were other spots on the roster that just, you have to factor that in. And they decided, hey, he was in high demand. There were other teams trying to hire this guy, and we got him. So let's not give up on him after one season. Now, you may see all of that. You may read that and say, boy, Brian Callahan's on a hot seat. The hottest of hot seats going into year two. He's on the shortest leash you can imagine. They are going to, at the first turn, fire this guy. I think he's on a warm seat, yes, but I don't think it's as hot of a seat as you think. I mean, honestly, if you're in a situation like the Titans were, and you know you need to make a change, and you know you're firing your GM, yeah, I think it would be crazy for somebody in the room not to at least throw out the suggestion, well, do we fire Callahan too? And that's what it may have been. That may have been the extent of it, is somebody goes, well, if we're going to fire Carthon, should we just fire them both and start over completely? And then you talk it over and you realize what I said. Well, the roster was bad. The quarterback position was the worst in the league. The coach that we have was in high demand. and then you talk it out. I don't think it's as dramatic as it seems, but read this as another reason why I think. I'm not going to show you the whole article, but read this little bit right here. The sense on the ground during Tennessee's training camp is that Callahan is well supported and that modest progress could be enough to keep his job beyond this year, depending on how that progress looks. He was in an incredibly tough situation last year, a team source said, and team officials have noticed Callahan has shown more vocal leadership in year 2. The objective for the team is clear: just improve. I'm really not big into expectations. I want to see growth, Borgonzi said. I want to see competition and discipline and start to come together as a team. Are we getting better? What that tells me is that, yes, Brian Callahan's seat might be a little warm, but he's got kind of a low bar to clear this season. Just be better than you were last year. You were the worst team in football last year. Just be better than that. Be better than 3-14. And even if you're 3-14, if most of those 14 losses could at least be competitive and the team's fighting and the team's competing for each other and Cam's getting better and some of these young players are showing spunk and some life and ready to be building blocks and you're making better decisions in the game, that's all we want to see. Just improve is what Mike Borgonzi said the goal he has. I just want to see improvement. I just want to see improvement. If Borgonzi and Brinker were being honest, I think what they would say is, I don't even care what the record is. I don't even care what our record. Now, as fans, of course, we'd love for him to be 17-0 at the end of the regular season. But I think Borgonzi and Brinker are essentially telling you, hey, I don't even care what the record is. Are we fighting? Are we competing? Are we close? Are we closer than we were? Is Cam doing well? Is Cam improving? That's a huge part of this. Is Cam developing? Is Cam learning from his mistakes? Is Cam turning the ball over less in the second half of the season as he did in the first? Is Cam making better throws? Is he making better decisions with the football in the second half of the season than he was the first? Remember, the big problem with Will Levis is when he got to the end of the season in that game against Cincinnati, he was no further along at the end of the season than he was at the beginning. He was still turning the ball. He got benched against Cincinnati in a game that was toward the end of December. I mean, the season was almost over, and Will was still doing the same stuff. So, yes, I can see how you would read this news about Brian Callahan and think, oh, man, he's on the hot seat. He's gonna get canned. I don't think it's as dramatic as that. I don't think the seat's on fire. I think he's got a low bar to clear. Just improve. What is it I told you that Borgonzi said? I'm not big into expectations. I just want to see growth. I want to see that we're better and getting better. If we get absolutely destroyed in week 1 by Denver, how do we come back week 2 against the Rams? Do we play better? Even if we lose to the Rams too, do we play better? Do we compete? Does Cam play better? And the sense on the ground during Tennessee's training camp, again, reading straight from the article, Callahan is well supported and modest progress could be enough to keep his job. Just progress. We're not asking you to turn this into a playoff team this year. We're not asking you to turn Cam into the MVP of the league right now. We just want to see progress. We just want to see the team be better. Whether that means 5 wins, 6 wins. We just want to see progress. We want to see that we're headed in the right direction. Last year, we weren't. Last year, it felt like we were completely going the wrong way. Can we show that we're at least headed back in the right direction, even if it's slowly? That's a pretty low bar to clear for Brian Callahan. That's not asking a lot of him. And if he can't even deliver on that, then yeah, he should be fired. If he can't even just show modest progress and show that the team has improved some from last year to this year, from being the worst team in the league to maybe being the 6th worst team in the league, that's progress. How do you not show progress when you're the worst team in the league? That should be a pretty easy thing to do. So it's alarming if you're Brian Callahan to see that you were almost fired at the end of last year, but also when you see that, hey, you've got a low bar to clear. They're not itching to fire you. They would love for you to do a great job. They're not looking for an opportunity to get rid of you. They had an opportunity to get rid of you, and they kept you. Just do better. Improve some. You're not going to be a playoff team? Fine. You're not going to have a winning record? Fine. but just improve. Just get better. Show some fight. Have a team that's together. Lead them. I don't know. I think it's a low bar to clear for Brian Callahan, and if he still can't clear that low bar, then I don't know what to tell you. Tighten up, everybody.